All right, welcome back, everybody. Parapalooza Fall 2021. It's been an exciting day so far. We got lots more coming up for you guys today. Just to recap on the schedule, right now we're doing horror genre, real life hauntings with Super Horror Show. We'll have Mike on here, and then we got a few more left after that for today, and we will be back tomorrow with some more. Don't forget, for all your ghost hunting needs, if you guys are looking for any equipment, please check out Ghost Hunters Outlet. And also, don't forget, go subscribe to all of our channels. We got Truth About Beer and Bios to Books, Paranormal Partners, Highway to Your Health, and Coffee Table Chronicles. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Hope you guys are having a good time so far. We're going to kick things right off here. We got Mike with Super Horror Show.
What's going on?
What's happening, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I see you guys are doing all right, huh?
Yeah.
It was a cool segment last time. It was neat.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you do live investigations, you never know. Stuff
That's
happens, stuff doesn't happen. So
that's the
it really
truth.
just depends.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about your topic today.
All right. So, I mean, that topic that I gave you, it's because I don't know how to title nerd things very well. I apologize. A big portion of what I'm going to talk about is numerology. Because of that, I do have my phone with notes here. And that's to keep things moving, because it's very easy to get distracted or even just forget what number I'm on, that sort of thing. But yeah, if we're all ready and everyone's all systems go, we can jump into it, huh?
Yeah, you're ready to go. I'm going to remove myself out of the picture here, let you get started. And if you guys got comments or questions for Mike, I'll be looking out in the comment section. I'll put them up for Mike so we can see them. But I'm going to go use a little boys' room while you get started.
Right on. Right on.
All right.
Mm-hmm. All right. So again, I do have my notes over here. I know that's not super professional, but while I can talk about this sort of thing all day long, having the conversation by myself usually takes about 4 minutes, and we were hoping for it to be a little longer than that. So my name is Mike, and I am half of Super Horror Show. I create animated horror content for adults. It's kind of like Twilight Zone or Tales from the Crypt, that sort of thing. But it's a lot of fun, and everybody should definitely go and check it out, because the biggest thing I do, well, the thing I do the most 3 times a week, is 2-sentence horror. These are little horror vitamins to help you keep creepy all year long. All right. Now, why am I here? If I am a horror content creator and this is Paranormal Palooza, it's close, but does it exactly fit? I understand. Like, it's bizarre. But I do belong here. Always. Something I hear from time to time is that Hollywood horror is very unrealistic or overly doctored, or that they take just a bunch of artistic license. And artistic license is definitely taken. You got to dramatize up the story a little bit. But the things that some people are quick to point out are actually things where Hollywood is mimicking real life paranormal events. And the people that usually are making these statements are people that have not experienced paranormal events for themselves. So they're kind of coming from this position of ignorance. And that's why today, what I'm actually going to, hang on. Before I actually start, this is important. I want to say up front that I'm going to use the word like a lot. Okay. When I was a kid, I really enjoyed science class, but I also read the Bible, and I spent a lot of time observing reality. And science did a great job of explaining a lot of things, but there were things that it did a very poor job of explaining, and the Bible filled in pretty well for at least some of these. Okay. Now, I don't need you to believe in the Bible or read the Bible to understand what I'm about to say. And I've been told by many people that, there are things that I say that appear in other holy books, and that they're all the same. And that might be. I haven't read them all. In fact, I've only read the one, but it's not important. What's important is the application or potential for application. So that's what I care about. So if you read about something that you hear me say in some other text, fantastic. Go for it. Whatever makes you happy, whatever text you prefer. The truth is the truth. Okay. The Bible describes God as an author. It says that our names are written on the palm of his hands, which is a reference to writing, and also speaks about God knowing people or individuals from beginning to end. These things written in the Bible tell me that people are like stories, like live people, me and you, we are like stories. And because we're all like stories, these stories are actually being woven and intertwined together. Now, I mean, there's conversations we could have about free will versus predestiny, and those are really fun ones to have. But really, that sort of thing, I think, is better suited for just some friendly. There's not a lot of concrete evidence there, so I'm going to sidestep that topic today. Now, the thing about stories, if you are not paying very close attention, it can be difficult to know what a story is about until you've reached the end of the story, right? A good example of this that I like to use a lot is the movie The Ring. That I guess at this point it's an old horror movie. If I was to put The Ring on and only played like the first, I don't know, 2 minutes where the two cousins are talking in her bedroom, or if they're cousins or just friends, either way, the two teenage females, they're in the upstairs bedroom and they're having a conversation. If I paused it right there and someone that it was the first time watching, right? And I said, hey, what's this movie about? Like based on what you've seen. Well, they might assume it's a high school romance or some sort of coming of age film. If I allowed that same person to watch until Naomi Watts' character started getting involved, they might think it's like a murder mystery or like a paranormal, supernatural murder mystery, right? Which is much closer to what the movie's about versus a coming of age tale. And if we went and I let that person watch almost all the way to the end where Naomi Watts' character is in the well and has Samara's remains, and I said, hey, well, what was the movie about now? That same person might assume it's a movie about a poor child that needed to be set free. So the more we watch, the more complete an idea we have of the stories in terms of a movie. But the same applies to your life, right? Wouldn't it be cool if there was a way we could know more about a story from the beginning, right? We definitely can. We definitely can. And quick note, the movie The Ring is actually about ineffectual fathers. The teen that died in the very beginning at the, well, first off, neither of her parents were home. But at the funeral scene, the father is kind of just sitting there dazed, not dealing with reality at all. It puts more pressure on the mom. Her and Naomi Watts have that conversation in the kitchen, right? Naomi Watts' son calls his father by his first name. We don't even really know that that's his dad. But later on in the movie, he admits that he is a poor father. And Samara's father put her in a barn. So we can see the theme of ineffectual fathers repeating itself throughout the movie if we're paying attention to what's happening. Okay? So if you can see the repeating theme in a movie and your life is like a story, there should be some repeating themes in your life, in your environment, happening around you. So then the natural question should be, is there a way that we can pay attention to these to become aware of things before they happen? And I sincerely believe that there is. In the horror genre, there are things that happen so often that they're practically tropes. Recently divorced moms. I didn't realize how short I was on this. Oh, sit up low. Recently divorced moms, abused children, and addictions. These things come up so often. What do they have in common? What are we really looking at here? Well, I tell you, they all fall under HALT, H-A-L-T. HALT stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. HALT is what substance abusers are taught to look out for because they make you vulnerable. This increased vulnerability is attractive to negative energy. Pardon me. Or maybe I should say it is like, because I can't offer material evidence for negative energy, so let's go with like again. It is like they are attracted to this negative energy. Now, At this point, I could give you anecdotal evidence that is real, things that I've experienced, things that I've seen, things that I've heard, things that I've felt in real life. But again, it's very hard to measure anecdotal evidence. And it would be fun to listen to these stories, and I'm sure there'd be comments about other, very similar paralleling line stories, right? But I did mention in the beginning that I loved science growing up, and I strongly prefer things that can be measured. So I'm going to talk about and maybe teach a little bit about numerology, film analysis, and applying it to real-time like life analysis. Numbers in movies. Numbers in horror movies. Let's keep it horror for right now. What are some numbers that we see get thrown around often in horror movies? If you had to pick two numbers, right, it would be more than likely, I know I would pick 6 and 13, right? We see them so often. They might even be considered tropes themselves. If I had to pick 4 numbers, 2, 3, 6, 13. But why? Why are these numbers so prevalent in horror? And if you thought the same numbers that I thought of, think about that. What are the odds? Why did you think those numbers? Because you've witnessed a pattern, okay? So what is the pattern, though? Do directors feel obligated to use scary numbers? If that was the case, are there scary letters in the alphabet, right? I suppose some horror directors are just tossing in spooky numbers, right? Like they don't know any better. They just, well, we have a murder. What apartment do we put them in, 6 or 13, right? Or if they paid attention to the pattern but still don't know any better, put them on the second floor, right? Put them on the second floor. But the directors that do know, that study life, they've seen the effects of these numbers. All right. So now I'm going to give some examples from real life, measurable examples. And remember, when I put this up, it is like your life is a story. It is like other people's lives are stories, okay? Keith, if you're there, if you could put up the article, well, the title about the troops in Afghanistan. Fantastic, thank you. I'm just gonna do one of these. So this was in the paper a couple weeks ago. Kabul airport attack kills 13 U.S. service members, at least 90 Afghans. This is not from Hollywood, but if you saw that on a newspaper in like a movie, it would fit right in, wouldn't it? It looks like something you would see in a movie. You got the number 13, the number 90. Number 90 is also very significant. We won't get into it exactly right now. We will circle back to that, no problem. And if we could just briefly put up the other one. Thank you. This is about JFK being assassinated. And if you go and look, I need to actually, there were 2 rifle shots fired from behind him. The shots struck President, 6th floor window. There we go. So we have 2, 6, and if I can find, I'm not going to find it right now. It is up there though. This is a video. Later on, please go in and pause this, or maybe I can go and cite where I got this from and get it put in the description or something along those lines. All right, we're good. So that first article came out a few weeks ago. Oh, my apologies. Why would I or anybody else say, if anybody else thought the same thing, which is this could be in a movie, this looks like something you'd see coming out of Hollywood, because 13 soldiers lost their lives. How many Afghans? 90. If you've seen the pattern enough, you might recognize it naturally, okay? But what is it that you're recognizing? Why are you recognizing the pattern? It's because the numbers mean something. So let's talk about numbers. I'm going to take another big sip. I would encourage you to take some short notes, but you are obviously not obligated to by any stretch. But this is, if I could only get like one section of information out to you guys, it would be the next section. Everything else that I'm doing really is application or proving that I'm not crazy by using newspapers. Okay. The number 1 represents God or the universe. Okay. The idea is like the one all-powerful, most complete thing. Okay. The number 2 represents conflict. The first biblical example of 2 is Adam and Eve, who immediately threw each other under the bus the second things started going poorly. The second example of 2 that we see was Cain and Abel, and that went far worse. So 2 represents conflict. The number 3 represents the supernatural, or dealing with the spiritual. In the Bible, God is represented as a triune being. Number 4 represents completion, or sometimes thought of as all. Okay, there are 4 seasons in a year, so if you have witnessed 4 seasons, you have witnessed all of the seasons. Number 6. And I did skip 5 on purpose. I'm going to only share with you the how to decipher the easier numbers. Some numbers are a little trickier and they can mean different things depending on context. I mean, I guess technically every number can be interpreted in different ways, but I'm giving you the very basics, but they can definitely be multiplied out to discover what other things might be meaning. So again, number 6. Number 6 represents imperfection. Man is imperfect and was created on the 6th day. This part of today will be the only thing my wife recalls about what I'm saying. And me saying this out loud where it's recorded just goes to show you how imperfect man is. So there you go. My constant number is 1111. 1111. So I'm going to go and we'll just jump into that real quick because I actually don't have 11 written down as an easy number to decipher. Sometimes 11 is literally like how you would do like powers in math where it's like 1 and then the 1. My screen, my camera's mirrored. So you can think of it almost as like a 1 beyond 1 in a lot of cases. That's not always the case. Sometimes, and this is where things get really kind of mixed up, 11 can be a 2. Sometimes when you have long sets of numbers, 2 or 3, 10 digits, sometimes you add them together. So 11 is one of those numbers where you're going to need to take more cues from the environment. You're going to want to pay close attention to what's going on around you. One thing that I see almost every day is 1117, and I'm not sure that it has a meaning. I think it's really just like a wink at me. I was born on the 17th of November. I see 1117 all the time. I've never seen anybody else write about seeing 1117 every day, but I do now. So okay, so on to number 7. 7 represents completion in a series. There are 7 days in a week. 9, so we just skipped over 8. 9 represents imperfection because it's 1 less than 10. So if you think of 10 as like a perfect set, 9 is literally saying you do not have a perfect set. You might think like, well, 9 is almost, 9 is close. Yes, but it is not. 9 is very close, but it is not a perfect set. It is literally telling you imperfect. Now 10 is a fun one. 10 can kind of represent like a big super number 1 or a big super number 4. It's super complete, or you could also say like perfect complete. Or if you had to pick one word, the word perfect might exist. That might be where you'd put the word perfect because of the way that 10 interacts with different other numbers. 12 represents completion of a group, or sometimes government. So, I mean, there were 12 disciples. So I guess that's where completion of a group. But I have seen, especially in movies, the number 12 literally just representing government, but not just the government. Other. See, now this is cool. We're doing this live. 12 represents authority. That's what 12, and it could be a positive or a negative. If you think about it, your parents, if you have good, loving parents, your parents are the first authority figures that you see. Even if they were kind and gentle and patient, that's how authority really should be. It's really messed up that now the word authority has that kind of perversion to it, where me saying it's like I have to explain that there is good authority in the world. So yeah, 12 represents completion of a group of people, sometimes government. If you were going to go with one word, I would definitely go with authority. The number 13. You might be surprised to hear me say that 13 does not mean bad or evil or anything like that. 13 is a transition number. There we go, Lindsay. Yeah, 13 is a transition number. This can be positive or negative. I think 13 gets a bad rap because people generally don't like change, even when it's good change. The act of moving. Also, if you really think about good movement, you think about it as like as an uphill sort of thing. That's how we imagine that. It's how we verbalize it. Walking uphill takes a lot of energy. If you've been doing it for a while, it takes a lot of moxie, right? You got to keep going. So even positive change is hard. It's hard because you are having to adapt in real time to a new circumstance. Okay, 30. 30. The number 30 represents betrayal. Okay, this one I don't see as often. You do find it in movies, though. I haven't seen this one too much in newspapers. It does come up from time to time, though. But 30 represents betrayal. Jesus was betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. There we go. Papa Joey seeing 414. That's I don't know what that is. You know what? If other people are seeing their birthday on the clock, like all the time, let me know, because before this moment, it's something you don't hear about. You hear people saying, like, I see 3 a lot, I see 2s a lot, I see 1 a lot. Never heard anyone say they see 11, 17. And now Papa Joey saying that he sees 414 often. There's a parallel there. That's interesting. The last number I'm going to single out today is the number 40. This one is actually, it's one of the numbers that I look out for the most often. 40 represents a trial. Okay, so it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Jesus spent 40 days in the desert, right? So if you are, Jade, is your birthday August 8th? Let me know if it is. So if you are going through something, or you are aware in advance, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you get lucky and you can see the hit coming. Take inventory of what day it is, and you'd be surprised how often by day 40, for some reason, things snap back together. I didn't plan on saying this, but let's just go on this tangent. The universe likes balance, okay? And this is wonderful and annoying, okay? Everything in the universe, nope. Everything in the universe likes balance, even your body. And your body, it's called like equilibrium, right? Everything wants to stay in balance. So if you are going through something that's very difficult, the universe does not want to keep you there, or it's like the universe doesn't want to keep you there, okay, because that would put things out of balance. It's going to try to snap you back to where you have been before. Now, what that means also is when you're trying to strive forward, it's going to keep putting you back to where you were before, because it has everything kind of balanced around you, or it's like it has everything balanced around you. And when you're trying to move forward, Your goal is to annoy the universe to the point where it's more convenient for it to readjust everybody else than to put you back. So, yeah, look at that. Christine, 1222. This is great. I had no idea this was going to happen. So this is new data for me. I'm going to write this down later. I'm not even kidding. This is good. Yeah, that's it. Well, see, maybe after today you will, though. That's the thing. When you, hopefully after this, you'll become aware of the things that you were not aware of before and maybe start being able to read the room. I've been told before, or I've been asked for, like, Michael, do you think that you have good intuition? And the truth is, I don't know, because I've gotten so used to reading what's going on around me. I would not be surprised in the slightest if my subconscious was taking in this information and reacting to it without me even knowing, because that's what the subconscious does, right? The subconscious, below, you don't even know what's going on. So there are times where, maybe I intended to zig, but instead I zagged, and to my conscious, the level of my consciousness, it appears just random. It's like, oh, I just wanted to do that. But in all reality, there was something that was picked up on in the environment, a social cue, a sound cue, a number, something. And I just went with it because that's what I do. I generally very much trust my instincts and my intuitions. Isn't 808? 808 is a drum, Papa Joey, you know that. I don't know about, actually, I mean, maybe it is a computing system, but for me, 808 is a drum. Okay. I left a note in here. Make sure there's time for people that have questions. You guys, I'm going to toss them out there. Thank you so much. Carry on. If you have more questions, just keep going. Okay. Maybe, doobie-doobie-doobie. Yeah, also, I'm kind of surprised, too. It looks like, I mean, I don't know what the delay is on this, but it feels pretty good. I think we're in step with each other. Okay. So, Keith, if we can look at the article on Kabul again. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, the airport attack, 13 U.S. service members killed. Okay. 13 is the number of transition, the number of change. This is a painful transition, obviously, but that is what the number says. Okay. And the 90 Afghanis. So 9 is imperfect, and I mentioned that 10 is like a perfect number. When you multiply them together, what you're actually seeing is perfect imperfection, or like complete imperfection. There are times in the Bible where it'll be multiplied out by 1,000, and 1,000 is 3 tens. And this, at that point, this is looked at by me, and I'd imagine other people that study numerology, as supernatural perfect, whatever the first number. So if it was 9,000, at that point, I would be more inclined to lean into, well, this might have been something supernatural. There might have been a lot more dealings here having to do with energy. So, but this 90, it's showing a greater emptiness. It's a magnified version of 9. And if we can get JFK up, even though, not going to lie, I couldn't see it very well, and I'd imagine you guys can't either, but I do want the data there. And in case it's not there, because I did write down some notes, and I'm wondering if I sent the wrong screenshot, but it's okay if I did. I'll get the URL over, and maybe we can put it in the description. There were 3 numbers regarding JFK. There was 2, 3, and 6. Okay. And let's remember that your life is like a story. Oh, bloody hell, I'm so sorry. Give me one moment. There we go. So, yeah, the JFK assassination numbers, we have the number 2, 3, and 6. Okay. 2 bullets hit. The last one killed. There were 3 shots fired, so that means the first one missed. And the rifle was found on the 6th floor. So the shots were, fire shots from the 6th floor. Now, this one is really interesting because if you had somebody that maybe there's two possibilities. If they didn't know what they were doing, or if they had judgments that they wanted to reflect on the situation, uh, they might read it along the lines of, well, 2 is conflict, 3 is supernatural, and 6 is imperfection. Okay, which can be viewed as something supernatural wanted JFK gone. And I'm not saying that that's not the case, but I am so careful when it comes to assigning supernatural influence over political events. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I am positive that it does. There's a lot of evidence for it. But people like to go a step further and start assigning virtue. A person who didn't support JFK could say JFK was evil and the conflict was God stopping him. And someone that did support JFK could see the same numbers and say, well, the devil had a conflict with JFK because that is a supernatural being, and so that's why he was killed. And I think that's disgusting. I don't think anybody should practice that. And the really crazy thing is the numbers there aren't even actually 2, 3, and 6. 3 shots were fired, 2 of them hit. That's actually a fraction. You're looking at 2 over 3. 2 over 3 is 66%, or 0.66666 repeating. The only number present is 6, and it's all over the place. So that's why it's important to not. It's not just, oh, well, God or the devil or some supernatural, they wanted. No. Also, I wouldn't spend a lot of time projecting this out. This is something that I really do like on the inside. It's more about me, my house, that sort of thing. But to practice it, if you find it, you start finding it in your environment, start finding it in the newspaper, you just become more aware of it. It's kind of like practice. Okay. Oh, and another thing, I don't hide under my bed at 6 p.m. every night. Okay. 6 p.m. Can it have a special meaning someday? Yes, but this is where your intuition has to come in. Sometimes 6 p.m. is just 6 p.m. Okay. So let's not get silly or religious over this. In case you didn't know, the word religion actually comes from the same Latin root, I believe it is, that our word regulate comes from. It literally means to bind. So don't get all bound up by this. Don't think, oh, well, this is this and that is. No. You need the signs in your environment to kind of point in the same direction, which happens way more often than you might expect. Okay. Okay, so not bad, 33 minutes in. I think to a fair degree, I've illustrated that Hollywood is kind of Hollywood is taking more from real life than a lot of people give credit for, right? What is a Kinkilns? What is this? I would need a brief descriptor. If it's a supernatural being, at a minimum, I would say the number 3. But if there are other numbers in the text, lore, the legends, they could very well be illustrating things. A great example would be if the first, if it's recorded that the first time, whatever this is, presented itself, there were 12. I would be comfortable saying that this is meant to parallel or reflect or have influence over governments, systems of authority, people, groupings of people. So, but yeah, so yes, the numbers are very easy to see. So that's where I like to start, and that is actually the most useful application of what I have, because they're very easy to spot. It'd be the same thing if it was like colors, right? Colors actually do have meanings too. But I do think that they're more intuitive. It's not something that you would really need somebody to to explain at any kind of length. But I would like to carry on, but if you have more questions about numbers, definitely just put them in chat. If you have dream scenarios with numbers, just toss it in chat. It becomes a little mixed up because you probably were never aware of the numbers existing around you. Like what's going to happen probably is over the next couple of days, you'll be like, holy cow, this, and that, and they all correlated. And you're like, son of a, should have, why didn't this happen yesterday? It probably did happen yesterday, but you were not aware of the numbers in your environment. What's going on, Keith?
I do have a question. So
What's up?
So the number 3, 3 o'clock being 3 a.m. being the witching hour, does that have
Yeah.
any significance you can talk about, or?
Well, it's 3. It's a spiritual number. Yeah, that's all. It's a very simple thing. Now, I mean, I found out that I think 17 is a bad luck number in Italy because the Roman numerals backwards spell the word lived or something like that, and with the connotation there is that it is no longer alive. So it's kind of like using some kind of newspeak for the word death or dead.
Okay.
No, but they would sync up. The thing with colors is that colors themselves are like, this is a little more about dreams than it is about Hollywood now. Now, Hollywood will use some colors to show things. Red, of course, is a passionate color. There are actually a lot. I'm going to go with Argon stories, and then I'll go back to colors. There are actually even more numbers with JFK's assassination, believe it or not. But I studied this maybe 17 years ago. And what happens is after I had enough data to go and show that, well, this is the truth, I didn't need to study evidence for the truth anymore. I was able to just apply it. Pardon me. And Lincoln, excuse me, there's all kinds of things with Lincoln and numerology and astrology, and actually the same thing for JFK. There's all kind, like, if you had someone that knew what they were talking about, this could be a 5-6 hour conversation easily. But Lincoln was one of the people that I looked at when I started picking up numerology. And it's fantastic evidence because the numbers exist. They don't lie. It's not somebody felt something. It's not, oh, I thought I saw something. No, this is what happened. Same thing with JFK. No, 3 shots, 2 hit, 6th floor. No, Kabul, 13 U.S. soldiers died, 90 Afghanis. Yeah. So because it's such hard evidence, I don't question it anymore. I don't need to recall the reasons why I put stock in these ideas because I've already made the commitment to it. But yeah, fantastic. You should definitely look that up if you are one of those people that enjoys, say, weird history or the weird side of history. I don't know. When it comes to music, I do know that there are a lot of Hebrew songs in the Bible that, even though they were upbeat, they were played in minor keys, and I'm told that's because the third is dropped. So it's like the third is missing, and they are waiting for the culmination of their faith, which would be the coming of Christ for them. So Christine and angel numbers and having different meanings. This kind of ties into the color thing. So in Hollywood, which is kind of what I was talking about, the meanings of the numbers are pretty set. Okay, they're fairly set. The meanings of colors are fairly set. For when Seven, that was a great movie, they used what's called a lute or a lookup table, and it pretty much just washed a lot of the scenes this yellow, sickly green color. Okay, so it's because that green, it's grotesque, it makes you sick, you don't feel good while you're looking at it. So these colors, they have a meaning in Hollywood. But when I look at colors when it comes to people individually, I'm thinking more about the individual. It's actually not super important to me because when I think about people, I think about dreams. That's when you dream, your subconscious is encoding messages for you, messages that could be from itself. I do believe that the universe can also send you messages through your subconscious while you're asleep. But whatever the case may be, it is your subconscious encoding this message. And the problem is that you don't have direct access to your subconscious mind, so you have to break everything to pieces, right? So if I asked everybody watching, well, what does red mean to you? If you just had a romantic evening with somebody, you might say, oh, well, red is love. If you just had a fantastic argument, you might say red is hate. If you have just witnessed something terrible, an accident, you might say, well, red is blood. You have all these things, and the meanings shift depending on where you are. Okay, so give me a moment. I'm sorry. There was color, and then there was numbers. Oh, and numbers fluctuating mean. So numbers can also fluctuate in their meaning depending on the individual. This does exist. If you have two children, maybe two is the greatest number in the whole world to you, right? Maybe two is now your favorite number. Oh, well, two is supposed to mean conflict. It might get pushed out for another number. It sounds crazy. Your brain is not going to, in a dream, encode two. It's not going to use two to encode a message about conflict because it knows that your conscious mind is not going to make that inference. Okay. So, wow, that's really bizarre because it kind of brings us into free will and how free will changes everything. And that's a whole big thing. But I'm going to get into it a little bit because we have time and I kind of like it better than what I was going to say before anyway. Right on. If it's like, it is like your life is written out. It is like that. But if your life is written out, how can you have free will? Right? How can that exist? Because the two ideas almost fight each other. Well, if everything is written, then everything is written. Okay, that everything is written equals that makes perfect sense. If you have free will, then you have free will. Also makes sense. You put these two things together, they fight. And the way that I've attempted to wrap my head around this is I kind of imagined it's like God is a painter and we are paint, but we are sentient paint. So maybe you're like a purple squiggle, right? Purple squiggle. It's a fun color, fun shape. And maybe someone was like a red triangle. And maybe there are some brown rectangles and just all these colorful shapes. That's what they are. And it's by their own free will. Okay? You chose to go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, because you are purple squiggle. I think what God does is like arranges things. There's a reason why I am here in 2021 and not in 1521. That is the universe putting me where my energy belongs. Okay. And there's all kinds of things about energy too, and like energy attracting like energy. I mean, go on forever. But yeah, it's not that I don't have the choice to go left or to go right. I have all those choices. But the reason why everything is written is because something that is way smarter than me was able to take every single piece of information into account and then arrange it for, I couldn't even tell you the outcome, right? Like, I assume there's a lot of work involved in that, so there has to be a reason. But it is actually far beyond the things that I can imagine or think. So But yeah, so that's the thing about fluctuating numbers, fluctuating colors, fluctuating signs and symbols. When you are deciphering things, you definitely want to take these things into account. I will also say, I heard recently from a friend of mine, he was talking about how he thinks that the leaders in China might be extraterrestrial. Okay, and he thinks they might have been for years. I mean, they've had a crazy grip over China for quite some time. And when you think about it, there are a lot of signs and symbols that, as Americans, we would take as evil. Forget Americans, as mammals. Snakes. If you go and you put out a snake, monkeys will react all different kinds of ways. Some of them will just point and scream. Others will just stare from a distance. There's a part of our brain that reacts very quickly and very powerfully to the snake as a predator. But in China, the snake, well, the serpent, the dragon, is revered as this wonderful good luck symbol. This is in such contrast to what mammals do that I don't know if I don't know if their leaders are extraterrestrial or not, but there's some really serious anomalies when something is contradicting their species, right? It's part of the mammalian brain to assess snakes and reptiles as threats. How did that come about? So that's another thing to look out for too. Actually, we'll go a step further. Let's talk about addiction for just a moment. You might find somebody that has their numbers kind of almost all backwards. And you might think, well, does that mean that 2 is a good number for them and whatnot? I mean, it could be. I just explained before how it could be. Or they could literally be, they could have their energy so gummed up that they're almost trapped, because they're going to keep returning. If you think that bad is good and good is bad, right? Then you're gonna keep falling down. It's very hard to move forward. Well, actually, that kind of brings us full circle. One of the things I wanted to talk about briefly, let's see, we have a little bit of time, is possession in Hollywood horror. Now, I have witnessed a possession, an exorcism, by accident. I walked in on an exorcism. When I was in high school, there was a church that if I got off at this one stop, I would just go, and I could go for a slightly longer walk. It was about half a mile at that point versus the quarter mile. So about once a week at random, I'd go to the church and say a prayer, and then I'd be on my way. It was nice, just way to break up the day. The church kept office hours, and the sanctuary was open, but the lights were off. There were some lights so you could see, you wouldn't fall down or anything. So one afternoon, I go into the church, and there are 2 elders and a man, and the man is possessed. I could see the black stuff in his mouth. I just froze. What are you supposed to think? I actually knew all 3 of them, which made it even crazier. They were, I grew up in that church. I knew them all pretty well. And the guy that was possessed was someone that I knew fairly well. But anyway, in between the possession, you would see he would go limp, and he'd, oh, please help, I'm so tired, please help. And then he would go and snap, and then back to this angry voice, not like in Hollywood, but with a little bit of a gravel in his, leave me alone sort of thing. When you look at exorcism in Hollywood, they don't really mirror what I looked at, what I saw that day. Now, to be fair, I've only seen the one in real life, right? So maybe I've received a poor sampling and they all look like they look in Hollywood. But Hollywood, on top of mirroring things like the numbers and whatnot, they also mirror things that are a little less obvious, right? And I think a lot of our possession films that we have nowadays actually mirror addiction. Um, the exorcisms, what they remind me of really are aggressive uh, interventions. You know, you have everybody there, and the person's sitting, and then there's all this anger, and the person is not in control of themselves, and that's the sort of thing you see often with addictions. You know, whether vices, drugs, whatever it might be. Um, I've had friends that have said, like, like, I wish I could stop. I wish I could quit. I wish. They weren't lying, right? Their life has literally been taken over. They are possessed by this thing. They don't have the control of themselves to fight it off. And I do think that that looks much more like Hollywood's version of possession. So what you'll see is with directors that know what they're doing, these directors are telling you hard truths. Like, they're telling you truths that you might be quick to reject, but they're cloaking them in these fantastical stories that you'll accept as entertainment, so that hopefully you would accept the message, that a piece of it, a seed will get planted. Yeah. We have, looks like, a few minutes left. Keith, what are we looking at here?
Stop about 5 till if you want. That way we can. I do want you to kind of plug your channel and everything, though, so people can go check out the work that you and your wife do, for sure. Because I was saying earlier today, and everybody agreed with me. Your work's phenomenal. It really is, and we enjoy working with you on the collaborations that we've done. And I think more people need to be exposed to what you guys do, for sure.
Thank you so much. Well, everything I spoke about today, interestingly enough, are the things that I take into consideration when I'm actually making one of these things. Like, so I said before, I'm an animator, a horror animator. It is difficult to put things in the background. Like, I want you to really think about this. There's nothing in the background where it's like, oh, you know what? Just put like a pencil over there. Because it has to be placed there. Like, so everything has intention. This is for movies across the board. Like, it costs a lot of money to make a AAA film. It costs a lot of money. Oh, well, they just put that clock there because rooms have clocks. No, they didn't. They did not pay Tom Cruise $50 million and just, just put a clock over there. That's a good idea. People like clocks. No, it all means something. And funny enough, you can go, if you start tracing it, and you get good at it. Movies are a great thing to watch because you can rewind. So if you missed the signs and symbols, you can pick up on them again and then see them. That is the best way to apply what I've said right now to your life. Watch movies by good directors, obviously, like Hitchcock. Burton knows what he's doing. I know some people aren't too happy with some of his more recent projects, but he does know what he's doing. The signs and symbols, even in his poor projects, they are there. They are there. So if you want to go and see some cool animated horror for adults, Super Horror Show on YouTube, it's a great time, right? And now this is this is all the stuff I think about all the time. So I live this.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it reflects in your work. It really does. I mean, I've always been impressed with what you guys do. So,
oh, man. Right on.
All righty. Well, thanks for jumping on with us, man. How you feeling? You recovering still? Everything going good?
Yeah, I'm okay. I got that wicked scar. I got to see a doctor in October about maybe I might need 2 other surgeries. I'm hoping I don't.
Jeez.
I'm working really hard to prevent that. If I can get my hand to go palm up, it's like it's trying, it's turning, it's actually improving. So I do think I'm going to be able to not have one of those surgeries. The other one, I got some bone that got built in my elbow that was not part of my elbow. Yeah, those clocks are actually stock, but those clocks actually are stock. But 1010 is not terrible because it's just like, it's almost like it doesn't say anything. It's just like, this is a good time for this to happen.
Right.
So I have actually, though, made videos where I had adjusted the clocks. It is a bit more work, or digital clocks. I don't even know if that video is still up. It'll get re-released anyway. But the time on it was intentional. I went ahead and I adjusted the time for that one.
Nice.
So, but yeah, very cool.
All right. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Great topic, man. It was a great topic. Very fascinating. I think we had a lot of good interaction with the audience. It was good. A lot of questions. So, all right. Well, thanks for jumping on with us today. Appreciate it.
All right. No problem. I'll see you guys.
All right. We'll see you soon. We're going to do another collaboration soon, so be ready for it.
Definitely, especially for Creepmas. It's going to be awesome.
I know. We gotta get that going soon. So we're not waiting until the
end.
Yep. All right. Well, cool, Mike. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for jumping on.
I'll see you guys.
All right, man. Bye. All right, guys. Coming up next, we got Transcendence Paranormal coming on. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. I'm just going to end this session with you guys and tune in for the next one. I'll see you in a couple minutes. Take it easy.